How to solve the Rubik's Cube. Solving the Rubik's Cube is something that a lot of people want to do, but not many people actually do. It's a task that requires a good amount of thinking, concentration, and determination. In this tutorial, hopefully, I'll be able to teach you how to solve the Rubik's Cube every single time from memory. The first thing that I need to teach you is called notation. Cubing notation basically looks something a little bit like that. And each single letter means something different on the cube. So for example, the letter R means to turn your right face 90 degrees clockwise. When you see the R with the comma beside it, that is R prime, and that means to turn your right face 90 degrees anti-clockwise. R2, doesn't matter which way you turn it, clockwise or anti-clockwise, you'll get it, R2. The letter F means to turn your front face 90 degrees clockwise, and F prime is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Your L means to do your left face 90 degrees clockwise, and L prime is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. U means to do your U face 90 degrees clockwise, and U prime is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. B means to turn your back layer 90 degrees clockwise, and B prime 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Your D means to turn your D layer 90 degrees clockwise, and D prime is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So whenever you see cubing notation like this, basically means you have to do an algorithm to get the desired result on the cube, just like that. The first step in solving your Rubik's Cube is to build what's called your cross. Building the cross isn't really something that I can teach. It's rather intuitive, and it's something that you've got to figure out on your own. To help you do this, I'm going to show you how to put some cross pieces up into your cross and walk you through building the cross in a few different solves. So in this case, we've got two cross pieces already at the top. What we need to do now to finish solving our cross is put this one in the top and this one in the top. So this one is super duper easy. We can just put it in the top like that. Once again, just like this. But hang on, we've already got a piece here, so that will not work. First, we need to make sure we've got an unsolved piece right over the piece that we're about to put into the cross. So once again, we've got an unsolved piece and we want to put this piece into the top. First we need to move this over like that, and then we can bring this piece up into the cross. This piece is a little bit tricky. We can't just do something like that, because that won't even solve it, and it knocks that one out. So what we can do instead is something a little bit like this. First, we need to get our unsolved piece directly over the top of this. Next, we need to turn our front face like that. So once again, with our piece down here like that, turn the front face like this. Then we can move our our unsolved piece over here and put this piece up into the top like that. Here's another example. In this example, absolutely none of our pieces are solved, but that's alright, we can do it ourselves. So we have this piece right here, so we can just put that into our top like this. Oh, and look at that! It's just going to put that one there. So before we move this up into the top, which would break this, first remember we've got to make sure we've got an unsolved piece so we can put this one into the top without breaking anything. Okay, we've got a piece, it's in the top, but notice how it's flipped. To fix this, we just need to turn our front face again like that. So once again, if you've got your piece like this, or down here, remember that you've just got to turn your front face, and then you can put this piece into the top. There's our last one. Yay! Once you finish building your cross, you've got to make sure that it's aligned. In this case, our red and blue is aligned, but our green and orange are not. So when you end up with something like this, you need to hold your two solved pieces here And here's a very short 4-move algorithm. R, U, R prime, U prime. This is called the sexy move. Don't ask me why, I didn't name this, that's just what it's called. Now, when you get your cross with 2 pieces that need to swap, hold the 2 solved pieces on your front and left face and do the sexy move, which is R, U, R prime, U prime, and then just put your cross piece back into the cross like that, and that will solve it for you. Should you run into a case that looks a little bit like this, where you have 1 cross piece that is solved, but your other 3 are not, pick a different color. So for example, I'm going to pick green. Then just turn the cube until you match green with its center color. Now we've got red matched, orange and blue are not. So these 2 need to swap. Hold our solved 2 pieces on our front and left face. Do the sexy move, R, U, R prime, U prime, and finish putting our cross piece back into the top. After you have solved your cross, it comes time to build your first layer, which is the next step in solving the cube. Now, how to solve your first layer. In this case, we have our white, orange, and green corner piece, and this belongs in our white, orange, and green slot right here. So hold the white, green, and orange slot on your right side, and put your corner piece that needs to go into the slot directly over the top of the slot. Now all you have to do is just start doing the sexy move. That didn't solve it, so just keep doing the sexy move. R, U, R prime, U prime. Do you see how it solved it? There we go. We have our white, green, red corner piece. This belongs in our white, green, and red slot. So hold the slot on the front, put your corner over the top of the slot, and just start doing the sexy move. Do you see how it's solved? This is a bit of an interesting case. We have all yellow up the top. Our corner pieces are in their spots. This is the blue, red, and white, and it is in the blue, red, and white slot. It's just flipped the wrong way. All you have to do if you get something like this is just start doing the sexy move. That will solve it. Can you guess how to solve this? If you guessed just do the sexy move, you guessed correct. I'll show another example of using the sexy move to solve your first layer. Okay. We have our red, blue, and white corner piece. Do you know where to put this one? Rotate, so we've got our red, blue, and white slot on the front. We need to move the corner directly on top of the slot and then do the sexy move. Oh, it's just solved it just then. That's pretty nice. Now, we've got our white, orange, and blue piece. White, orange, and blue slot right here. Put the corner directly on top of the slot and start doing the sexy move. That took a while, but now it is solved. Here we have our white, green, and orange corner piece directly over the white, green, and orange slot. This is good because this means we can just start doing the sexy move. Finally, we have our green, red, and white corner piece, and this belongs in our green, red, and white slot. We need to put our corner directly over the slot and start doing the sexy move. Now you'll notice we have finished building our first layer, and each side is a solid bar. This will tell you if you've built your first layer correctly or not. If you've built your first layer wrong, it will look a little bit like this. You'll have a solid bottom color, but then your bar of colors, it'll just be a jumble. To build your first layer right, you need to make sure that your bar looks a little bit like this. After you've built your first layer on the cube, the next step is to build the second layer. The time has come for you to learn the next 4-move algorithm. The algorithm goes like this: R prime, F, R, F prime. This algorithm is called the sledgehammer. I don't know why it's called the sledgehammer either. To solve your second layer, the way to do this is to find your pieces that belong in your slots. Let's use this one as an example. Our red and blue slot means we need our red and blue edge piece. Our red and blue edge piece is right here. The first thing you need to do is line up your red and blue piece with your center color. Then you need to move it to the back with the U prime, and then do the sledgehammer, and then the sexy move. That will solve it. In this slot, we have our orange and blue edge piece already solved, but it's been flipped. When you get this case, all you have to do is do the sledgehammer and then the sexy move. Now you'll notice our orange and blue corner piece is in the top layer. We need to line it up with our center color, put it at the back with the U prime. Once again do the sledgehammer and then the sexy move, and that has solved it. We have, in this case, our green and orange edge piece, which is right here, and it belongs down here. It's already lined up with our center color, so we'll move it out the back with the U prime, sledgehammer, and then sexy move. And you may notice that we've put it in flipped. When you get it like this, all you have to do is once again do the sledgehammer and then the sexy move, line it back up, hide it at the back again, sledgehammer and sexy move. That will solve it. In this case, we once again have our green and red edge piece up here. Its color is already matched with the center, and like last time, we're going to end up inserting this flipped because this color does not actually match the green. So we're just going to hide it at the back, do the sledgehammer and then the sexy move to put it in flipped. Next we want to unflip it, sorry. So we'll do the sledgehammer and then the sexy move. Match it once again with your center color, move it at the back, sledgehammer and then sexy move again. Once you've finished building your first 2 layers, the next step is to build a yellow cross on the top. To do this, you will run into 3 different possible cases. You'll get 2 edge pieces oriented. You might get another 2 edge pieces oriented, but this time, instead of being in an L shape, they're in a line. Or finally, you might get this. No edges oriented at all. To build your yellow cross, all you have to do is this. If you have a line, hold it so that it is horizontal, not vertical. Hold your line horizontal. Do an F move, then do the sexy move, and then do an F prime. Once again, if you've got the line, hold it horizontal, F move, sexy move, F prime. If you get the small L shape, you need to hold it on your front and right like that. Put your 2 unoriented edges at the back and the left side. Then you've got to do a wide F move. So this is moving 2 layers in an F move, then do the sexy move, and then do a wide F prime. Once again, if you get the L, you need to hold it at this angle on the right and the front side, do a wide F move, sexy move, and then a wide F prime. Finally, if you get the dot case, Don't fret, just do one F move, sexy move, F prime, and then you may notice that we've now got the L, and we can solve that with a wide F move, sexy move, wide F prime. Once we've finished building our cross on the top, we need to make sure that it's oriented. In this case, you'll notice that we've got a green, orange, blue, and red piece all correctly oriented. The green is with the green, the red is with the red, blue's with blue, orange with orange. On this cube, we have the red piece. It's solved, but blue is not, green is not, and orange is not. If this should happen, like when we were building our cross in the beginning, we need to just forget this solved piece, choose a different color, match it, so now this is solved, and you'll notice we've got this solved. Instead of then doing the sexy move and then finishing it like that, which would actually orient it, it breaks up the second layer. So instead, we need to learn a different algorithm. Once you've got your two solved pieces like that, you need to rotate the cube like this. Turn it twice. In other words, you're basically doing a U2, but that might be confusing. So just rotate the cube twice. Then you need to do this algorithm. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. Now you'll notice nothing's solved, but just take a color, match it with the center color, and you'll notice that the entire cross is now solved. You may run into a case that looks a little bit like this. We've got our red solved, blue is not, but our orange is solved, and our green is not. This case is a little bit confusing, but don't panic. Just do the algorithm that would swap two pieces around again. So this algorithm is R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. From here, you can just choose a color, green, match it up, orange is also now matched, and now we've got this case where these two need to swap. So once we've got these two here, we need to rotate twice, then do the algorithm I've just taught you. R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U2, R prime. Nothing solved, just choose a color, solve it, and you'll notice the rest of the cross is now correctly aligned. After you have finished aligning your cross for the top, what you need to do now is finish solving your top layer so that the entire top is one solid color. To do this, we need to rotate the cube upside down. Now, this might seem a little bit confusing, but just follow along with me and I will go slow so you don't get too confused. We need to start doing the sexy move. R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, and just keep doing that until you solve a corner piece. You may notice that everything else up the top here has just gone absolutely haywire, but don't stress. Don't rotate your cube, just move the bottom over, bring a new unsolved corner piece into place, and start doing the sexy move again. You may notice that now we've flipped two of these corner pieces, and the rest has solved itself. We now just need to continue. Bring an unsolved corner piece into space here. Start doing the sexy move. Once you've finished aligning it, bring a new one over. Start doing the sexy move. In that last example I just showed you, the cube ended up solving itself, but this is not usually what happens. That was actually very lucky. So here's another example of making the top one solid color. Flip the cube upside down, take an unsolved corner piece, start doing the sexy move. We've got it now flipped. Don't rotate the cube, rotate the bottom layer and bring a new unsolved piece into the play. And start doing the sexy move once again. And now you'll see that we've completely solved our top layer. I'll do one more example because this is kind of confusing. We need to start, flip the cube upside down, take any unsolved corner and just start doing the sexy move until we solve it. Now, something I cannot stress enough, when you're doing the sexy move, you really need to make sure you're doing it properly. It's R, U, R prime, U prime. Pay attention to the U prime. Because sometimes when doing this, you might finish aligning it, orienting it, and then you go, okay, move it over, but you forget to do the U prime, and that will completely send you back to the start. You need to remember to finish the algorithm for this to work. Move it over, do the sexy move, okie doke, new unsolved piece, sexy move, U prime to finish it, move over a new unsolved piece and just continue. Like that. Now that we have finished making our top one single solid color, we need to finish solving the entire cube. There are 4 different cases you can get from here. There's one that looks like this, one that looks like this, one that looks a little bit like this, and then finally one that looks like this. After you've finished doing the sexy move and finished orienting your top layer, well, technically speaking, your bottom layer, don't flip back over, keep your cube upside down, and pay very close attention to what I do. This is our red, blue, and yellow piece. This piece has to go with our red, blue, and yellow spot here. To swap this piece into its correct position, we need to start the sexy move. R, U, R prime, but do not finish it, because you'll soon see why. Now, because this piece needs to go back here, we need to move it over to here. So our red, blue piece, we need to put it in here. Now, do you remember how we went R, U, R prime to put it up into the top layer? Well, this time we need to do R, U prime, R prime. Do you see how this has solved it? Next, we've got this green and red piece. This piece belongs in our green and red slot here. We need to move our slot over and do R, U, R prime, which will solve this. Next, we've got our green, orange, and yellow piece, and that belongs in our green, orange, and yellow slot here. So we need to move this slot over and do R, U prime, R prime. I know this seems very, very confusing, but trust me, it's a lot easier than learning an algorithm for each of the different cases. In short, what you're doing is you're basically doing a swapping thing. You start by going R, U, R prime, and then you do R, U prime, R prime. You're basically doing this, taking a corner piece out, and then putting a corner piece back in, and in between taking them out, you're rotating the bottom layer, putting them back in, and taking them out into their correct positions. I hope this makes sense and that you can sort of understand how it works. If not, just let me know in the comments and I can make a separate video with each of the algorithms if this method doesn't actually make sense. This is another case that we can get. It's pretty similar to the first one, but it's slightly different. We want to start, by swapping our green, orange and yellow piece into this spot, the green, orange and yellow spot. So we'll start with R, U, R prime, move it over into the bottom. Now we have to do R, U prime, R prime. Now we've got our green, red and yellow piece, and that belongs here in our green, red and yellow spot. Swap it out, R, U, R prime. Next we've got our orange and blue, which belongs in our orange and blue slot. So that's R, U prime, R prime. For these two cases, it is honestly easier to learn an algorithm to solve them, and I promise that the algorithms are actually very easy and very simple to memorize. When you've got this case, you will have finished doing the sexy move to orient your last layer. You want to flip it back over this way, and here's how the algorithm goes. M2, and to do an M move, what you want to do is hold two fingers on your left and right layer and use your middle finger like that to move the M slice. So when you get this case, the algorithm goes like this: M2, U prime, M2, U2, M2, U prime, M2. Can you see how to solve the cube from here? You just need to do a U2. A way that I find that helps me memorize this algorithm is remembering it like this. When you're doing the middle layer, you always have to turn it twice, so that's super duper easy to remember. Then when you're turning the top layer, the first time, you just need to turn it once, do the middle layer again, then the next time you've got to turn the top twice, M2 again, then only once, M2, and you're done. When you have this case, what you need to do is look at the pieces. This red, blue, yellow needs to go here, and this green, red, yellow needs to go here. These two pieces need to swap like that, and this orange, blue and yellow needs to go there, and the green, orange and yellow needs to go there. Basically, the pieces that you're swapping are these two and these two. It creates like a line on both sides going that way. Hold it so that the two pieces that need to be swapped are on your left and right side. Don't do it so that you're going to swap the wrong pieces, because you'll just end up with the algorithm I just showed you for the last case. You need to hold the cube with your yellow like this, and then the algorithm goes like this: R, U prime, R prime, D, R, U, R prime, D prime, R, U, R prime, D, R, U prime, R prime, D prime. Once again, R, U prime, R prime, D prime. No, not D prime, sorry. D, R, U, R prime, D prime, R, U, R prime, D, R, U prime, R prime, D prime. So, if you've managed to follow along the whole way and solve your Rubik's Cube, congratulations! That is so awesome! If what I said made sense and you were able to understand what I was doing, that is so cool. If you didn't understand, rewatch the video, ask me in the comments, I'm more than happy to help you, and let me know if you want me to make a separate video with some extra tips and tricks for those final 4 cases that you can get at the very end. If this video helped you, feel free to drop a like, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.